just like making videos. In this here video, I'm going to explain to you why I feel that blacks will never get reparations for slavery. The short answer is white people, the U.S. government, doesn't want to pay you. That's the short answer. They don't want to pay reparations. Matter of fact, they feel that we should be thanking them for abolishing this horrible institution. You know, that slavery existed during the Roman times, the biblical times or whatever, and that we should be proud of our U.S. government for annihilating this such evil institution that existed for a very long time. You know, and also they, you know what I'm saying, slavery is being looked at as a necessary evil, that it's a blessing because it brought black people to the shores of America, you know, and from that horrible place called the Dark Continent. That hence, you know what I'm saying, we should be thanking white people for slavery. I'm like, this is absolutely insane. Just like Soldier Boy, that buffoon. I'm talking about, I want to thank my slave master because I'm over here because I got all this gold and all this platinum on it and so forth. I'm like, I'm telling you, these rappers are bigger buffoons than Stepin Fetchit and so forth. Matter of fact, I got a video coming. For that. You know, and so forth. No, actually, white people need to be thanking us. They need to be thanking us for toiling in their fields, for them to generate so much wealth, for us giving them the energy to put the battery in their back to make for our independence, to go to war with Britain, you know, and so forth. And it wasn't about just free labor. I'm tired of people saying, oh, it's just free labor. No, they had control over mind, body, and soul. Free labor is like, oh, me just going to work, working for free and coming home. But while I'm home, I get to sit back, drink a beer, watch TV, you know, jerk off to porn or whatever. You know, I'm like that. I'm like, you was under their control. You know what I'm saying? Once you're done working for today, you go into your shack. And if the slave master says, I'm going to need you to fetch my sleepers, I'm going to need you to do this, you got to do it. If he wakes you up at 3 o'clock in the morning and say, hey, I need something to get done, you got to get your ass up. And then having sex with women and children, I'm like, man, it's disgusting. You know what I'm saying? This type of slavery here will probably make the ancient Romans cringe and make them say, oh man, we're not that bad. You know, you resurrect Julius Caesar and all these guys, they'll look like, hey, we wasn't that bad. You know, give us some credit. But also when it comes to slavery, the U.S. government, you know, they feel like, well, back in the days, there was a whole lot of societal ills. I'm like, you didn't have labor laws. You had little kids working inside coal mines, coal workers that get killed. The family wasn't compensated for that. I'm like, there was nothing to protect pretty much the weak and poor people of this country, no matter what color they were. Frederick Douglass stated that the black slave had one master. The white slave had many masters. The white man has many masters. And I'm not saying that the white man not having workers' rights and so forth, and there was no minimum wage back then. I'm not saying that he had it bad as slaves, but when he went to work, you know, he could be subjected to all sorts of cruelty. And bear in mind, black people also work for wages too. You know what I'm saying? So it was pretty bad. But still, when they went home, they did what they wanted to do. You know, the white man can get drunk, beat his wife because there was no laws protecting women and so forth. So eventually, over time, the U.S. government, you know, created legislator and so forth to make this a better country. And you know what I'm saying? Like, yeah, slavery was bad, but we fixed that. But grown men marrying 10-year-old girls in the Appalachian Mountains, that's pretty bad too. And we fixed that. You know, you see what I mean? Also, the U.S. government is going to be like, well, why do we have to foot the bill alone? You had the French, you had the Dutch, English, Spanish, Portuguese. All of them had slaves. All of them endeavored in chattel slavery. All of them made a profit. You know, so why don't you go after them too? And America back in the days was kind of like Africa. Everybody wanted the slice of America. You know, the Spanish had California and Florida. French had Louisiana and so forth. So you had European until America gained this independence, and either you was American or you got kicked out and so forth. Some people bowed out, like the Spanish, you know, because America was trying to go to war with Spanish. Spanish bowed out, and when they left Florida, the slaves in Florida, they just freed them. They say, we out of here. You know, the Florida slaves are free. But then when the white man claimed Florida and got Florida, he threw them right back into slavery. And and also, just here in America, people feel that the U.S. government would be like, well, slavery was a government institution, but it was also a private institution. Some of these newly formed states can vote in popular sovereignty or not. Popular sovereignty is pretty much a fancy word for slavery. You know, and they talk about the private sector. I'm like, we're not a totalitarian government. We don't control aspects of every, you know, if they want to have slaves, you know, that was their right and so forth. If they don't want to have slaves, then, you know, and so they'll look at all these wealthy landowners, these banks, colleges, they all made money off slavery. You know, so why don't you go after them? Why don't you go after these institutions, these wealthy people that, like Ben Affleck, whose ancestors have slaves? Why should we have to? They're going to be like, why do we have to pay everybody's bill? It's like if somebody owes, if you have all kind of friends and family that owes you money, and you only want to go to one person to gather money up that you lent out everybody. Now, I had an argument with somebody on Facebook, and they said something of the sort of like, well, the U.S. government, you know what I'm saying, they're the button pushers. That they, you know what I'm saying, they say yay or nay. And I agree to a certain extent, but we got to think more complicated. Just going after the government, oh, the government. That's just too dang simplistic. So yeah, we might have to broaden our scope and go out, you know what I mean, go out like the money man. You know what I'm saying? We have to send some muscles, break some kneecaps to get reparations. And also the U.S. government say will be like going into the 1619 project. They'll say, well, we didn't technically become the U.S. government until 1776. 1619, that was when we were technically a British colony. So why should we owe money back way back then? You know, so, but, you know, they'll say, like, if we're going to give reparations, it's going to be from 1770s. Really can't compare that to slavery. We was at war, and the U.S. government violated its own constitutional laws, tossing them in internment camps. And when it comes to slavery was around before some of these constitutional laws were written. But yeah, that's something to think about. You know, if Japanese got money for got reimbursed for their times in the internment camp and got a cash settlement, we should get a cash settlement for Tulsa, Oklahoma, or, you know what I'm saying, just Jim Crow. You know, that alone is, to me, is just more devastating and harsh than the internment camps. And then people talk about, what about the Native Americans? Well, the Native Americans, they got sovereignty. Problem with us black people, we were too integrated with white people. Even when we was segregated, we was working, you know, we was tucking them in bed at night. We was saying, hey, Mr. Charlie. We was trying to get jobs and so forth, you know. And Native Americans, they're on their own. And a lot of those Native American reservations, they didn't have plumbing. They don't have electricity. I'm like, some people say the Native Americans are doing worse than black people. They got a low life expectancy. And also, in the 1990s, there was actually there was a plague that was killing a lot of Native Americans. I think they call it the field mice plague, because things on the reservations, they're not the cleanliness. I guess some field mice was literally transporting the disease that was killing a lot of Native Americans. But since Native Americans are kind of isolated from the maelstrom, a lot of people didn't know about it. But thanks for watching, and never stop learning.